Hello and welcome to another video. So today we are checking out a BloodCraft deck. It is Evo Blood, main focus, of course. One of the new cards, Shadow Devil, giving you some Vengeance card, it's not Vengeance cards, right? Vengeance effects with recovering 2 evolution points. It's pretty straightforward and actually not half bad. I was a little wondering how this would fit in, but the decks are basically completely readjusted in this case for this card in particular, I've noticed. Running things like Lycanus Berserker are a lot more common now. Running that really does help support that, since you don't have to be in health to use most of your effects, which is great. So we are going to get right into it and check it out. So this blood list is actually one that I found quite enjoyable, and I wasn't expecting it to be as fun as it actually was for me to play, which is a little bit of a shock, to be honest. I just didn't expect it. And the new 6-drop, while not super impactful as far as changing up the meta of Blood goes, it's definitely helped support the Evo package that Blood was already using in a lot of cases, and it allows you to branch out from a Mecha Evo to a normal Evo deck without having to use many Mecha cards, which is great. So I would much rather go with that kind of play style, to be honest. And Entrancing a Blow plus the Berserker actually is a wonderful combination. Getting the +2 means I don't have to use any kind of Evo on it, and I can guarantee the fact that I would get the Last Word Blood Moon for 1 cost, which is an actually amazing amount of value for this deck in particular. Gilded Necklace, not a problem. Decided to go with Azrael there, couldn't think of anything else. From this point on though, it's basically just winning the game with as much as I can. I decided to hold on to the Blood Moon and just go for more board presence, since I don't have a lot in my hand right now that really is going to rely on Vengeance, other than maybe Urias, and that's really it actually. Nothing else here is really Vengeance dependent, so Urias is going to be the only one. I said Urias a minute ago. So easy to mistake those names when you read them quickly and don't think about it. Warring Flame though, not a problem actually. Veiled Reckoning is actually more of a problem. I haven't seen a lot of these sword decks floating around, but they do seem to be reasonably good. So now we get a good chance to go with the Blood Moon play. We're pretty free to play whatever we want here. So Urias is going to take out the 3/4, since it's going to heal straight back up. We can then use Entrancing a Blow to boost something in our hand, which I decided to make the Berserker, since I want another free Blood Moon, or reasonably cheap Blood Moon I should say. And we got the 4 damage in, so that was a really overall great turn and worked wonders for us. Neither of these cards are a huge issue. The damage we're dealing and healing is pretty good, even though we don't need the heal, but the damage is worthwhile. We still have Warring Thunders in our hand to boost our Evo count up, along with the fact that we can use them just straight up to destroy followers, as you'll see right now apparently, since we can wipe these both out fairly easily and inexpensively. And we even got Shadow Devil, which is great, so it means I can kind of spend the evolve here without any kind of concern. So whether I go for Medusian or for the Shadow Devil next turn really just depends on what our opponent plays out here. But either one would actually be perfectly fine, depending on the situation. I would definitely lead towards Shadow Devil though at this point. So here we go, next turn, going in on it. We do end up going for the Shadow Devil play, and I decided to spend an Evo on it. I'm trying to get my Evo count up, so it wasn't too big a loss here. Especially since we did get the trade as well, so we get to protect our health at the same time. On Frontal Guard, that's a rough one to go up against though. Lucky the Medusian is going to do a wonderful job of killing this thing off completely, since it does have Bane. A lot of people probably would have underestimated that ward, but it definitely is really hard to get over once the opponent has a few Evos up. But from here on, we're actually pretty comfortable. We don't have too many issues to deal with, and we're pretty free just to play how we want. So you're not actually too reliant on purely Evos to win the game with things like Zeus, which is actually what I like to see in a deck. I like to see that it's got more options than just one win condition. if I can just use all my cards to make advantage, I will do so, because that's a much better way to win games typically than one blowout turn. That's typically how this deck seems to go for me. Okay, so next up we are playing against Haven, and they have got the new Love Live Idol, I think it is. I think that's the one that they're using. Not a big fan of Love Live Idol stuff to begin with, in my own personal opinion, but I definitely see its appeal as far as art style and music goes. So Golden Bell, that's a pretty good start for our opponent. We don't have much other than the Entrancing Blow and the Lycanus again, which seems to be a really good way to start off most games if you can get that early. Of course, getting them out is another whole story. We're not really going to start taking off till about turn 4, so we do have to be a little careful. And it's a pity, but the odds of getting Enraged Commander out reasonably low unless we just use it for damage, since we can't really use it right now at this point in the game, and without having Blood Moon active, it's going to be fairly weak. And we can't hit the 3/4, so we can't even kill off this. So we'll just go phase 4, pretty much straight up 9 damage at this point. I mean, that's a fairly decent damage total and a good way to go for an early lead. Even if the opponent can pretty much take the lead from here single-handedly. Alright, Assault Priest. Nice one to see. They did get the banishment there. I believe it was banishment. And a good chunk of damage on us. So we do have to deal with this now. And since we are at 12, this is a good point to use Azazel. We can just kind of play him out, get ourselves into vengeance. We don't really need Blood Moon now at this point. But it's nice that we had Blood Moon as an option when we want to hold our health. But it's just this matchup, it's a little too hard to do so. Flawed Saint, not what I wanted to see. It's a really good trade-off. Their board's looking fairly healthy. And we really need a good way to take things out now. So my best line of play right this second's probably definitely the Medusa with an Evo. I've also got the Calamity Bringer, which is good. We could probably use that to our advantage fairly well to clear out a board. But coming up with exactly what to do in this matchup was a little trickier than I would have thought it would have been. On Destiny Wing Knight, I've actually got a Haven video that should go up in a couple of days that's using that, and it's actually a lot of fun. It'll be fairly similar to what I'm playing against, but a little different as well. So we have got 1 health left. That's not a lot to work with, to be honest. So our best bet from here on out is to take the board by storm. Even if that means sacrificing some of our own stuff. Because that 1 health range is just too dangerous. Luckily for us, knowing what Haven has, the odds of them having any way to deal 1 damage from hand is reasonably low. They really need to have something stuck to the board if they want to deal that sort of damage to us. Unfortunately for us, they're not really getting an opportunity to do that yet. And we only really need to make it to turn 10 to win this game. Realistically, that's our win condition. So I probably should have went for the Vera here. I did want to save it in case I needed it, but I think if I had to win Vera, I could have then went into the Shadow Devil, no problem. I do now need to take this entire board out. Lucky Medusian is in our hand. That's going to do a nice job, and we're almost at turn 10. So we've done a good job of stalling out this match, which is the only option for us to go for our win now. Omen of Craving. Ambush, that's a really good option from the opponent. Luckily for us though, this is our 1 chance to win this. Zeus boosts us right back up to 10 and allows us to do 7 damage. Not quite lethal, but the healing is plenty enough to keep us out of that lethal range. That's going to make this match much harder on our opponent for sure. So we do now need to deal with this. Lucky for us, we have Destructive Succubus, leaving them with just 1 health again, and very close to lethal. We won't need much at all to close this game out. So trying to keep themselves out of range. Calamity could have been the risk I could have went with to win this. I did decide against that in the end. Oh, sorry, no, I didn't decide against it. I decided to set up the exact Calamity I would need. I was trying to remember which way I went with this, because I've also got the Urias here, which I can use. Which means they only really get one follow-up play before they risk losing the game. I had to remember what I did for that turn. It was like yesterday when I did these games, so I'm recording this a little bit after. You know, there's a lot of divine punishment there. Heavenly Argus, of course. It's 1 damage. And Saint Hands, that's going to be 2. Definitely won us that game by far. This has definitely become a deck I enjoyed playing a lot, and I'd love to give it more of a go. Hopefully I'll get another chance to revise this deck and give it a really hot go, but overall, it's fun, it does the job, it's not relying on Zeus, which is something a lot of you guys seem to like when I play these Evo decks that just don't rely on it as its primary win condition. Overall though, great fun. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, you'll find the decks in the description below. Until next time guys, see ya.